is English time, your journey to English success.
Hello everyone, this is the part 4 in the series of lectures on stative verbs. So in this session, I'm going to talk about the verbs that can be both stative and dynamic. Okay, as we know, one word can have multiple meanings, and depending on that, the usage also changes within a sentence. So here we have two pictures which show verbs related to see. Okay, so see can be the act of seeing with your eyes, and seeing can also be dating someone. Okay, so let's look at such verbs which cause confusion most of the times. So the first one, as we've begun, is see. Okay, so the literal meaning of see is the act of seeing with your eyes. Okay, the sense of vision. So this is a stated meaning. So you can say, I see birds flying in the sky. That's a good example. Or I see a lot of people here. Okay, but you don't say I'm seeing. Okay, now another meaning is you professionally meet someone with an appointment. Okay, so I'm seeing the ophthalmologist this weekend, which means you have a clinical appointment with the doctor. Okay, and that is the dynamic meaning. Now another meaning for seeing is dating, as I told you before. So in a sentence, did you know that Jenny is seeing Richard? Okay, so that's one of the examples you can talk about. So that's about see. Let's go to the next slide. Feel. Okay, the stated meaning of feel is the texture of something, how something feels. Okay, so the fur feels soft. It's not an action, but you're talking about how the fur feels. Okay, so that's the texture. Now second one is your dynamic meaning. This is the actual act of feeling something with the sense of touch, with your hands, with your skin. So for example, you went to a textile store and you're buying something, you're trying to feel the cloth. Okay, so I am feeling the cloth. So this is a dynamic meaning, and it's absolutely right to say I am feeling. Okay, because the meaning here implies that you are doing a physical action. Now the third one is stative meaning. Okay, so here you come to believe on the basis of emotion or something that's indefinite. Okay, here you have your intuition playing. So you have a feeling for something. Okay, so for example, if someone is ignoring you, you might think like, I feel he doesn't like me. Okay, maybe that's why he's on the mobile all the time, for example. Okay, so that's feel. So you have three different meanings for this word. Let's move on to the next word. Here, this is about appearance. We had this word in the previous videos as well. Okay, so appearance, actually appear has three different meanings. Appearance is the first one, okay, which is your stated meaning, where you are talking about the appearance of something. Okay, so this table appears neat. So that is the literal meaning, how it appears to your eyes, right? Now the second one is you are sitting an exam, or you are attending an interview. So you can say something like, I am appearing for an exam, right? Or Mohan is appearing for an interview. So that's another example. So you have two different meanings, okay? And the third one is when someone is featured on a show. For example, Maisie Williams is appearing on Game of Thrones series. So appearing means she is acting in that movie series, okay, in that show, right? Let's move on to the next one. Look, we had this before. So look has the literal meaning of looking around. Okay, so that is the dynamic meaning. So he is looking around, okay, or she is looking at the birds, right, etc. I'm looking at the document, right? And it also means appearance, the look of something. She looks good. Okay, this, when you look at a pretty girl, you might say she looks good. Okay, now another one is searching. He was looking for jobs online. Looking for is a synonym for searching. Okay, so he was looking for jobs online. Right, now another one is, again, it's not the literal meaning, but it's a stated meaning, and if you can see, it has the meaning of match. Okay, so look means you match the age with appearance. You don't look your age, okay, or you look your age. Okay, so for example, you have these older colleagues at work, but they seem to be very younger in their appearance. So you say, are you 60? That's unbelievable. You don't look your age. So that is about the look. Okay, some pictures for you to understand better. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, sound. Now this dynamic meaning of sound is to make a sound. Okay, I have waited enough. Now I want to sound the horn, right? Or you can also say, now I'm sounding the horn, honk honk, right? Now the next one is your stated meaning, when you say you are trying to agree with something. Okay, so if someone asks you, for example, how about a trip to Sorrento next week? Okay, they're asking your opinion. So you say, that sounds good. Okay, so that is like saying yes. Or if you say, that sounds bad. So that is equal to no. Okay, so that is the meaning of the word sound, right? And next one is taste, right? So taste is the actual meaning, the literal meaning, where you're perceiving something by the sense of taste. So you can say, we had this in the previous videos as well, in your part 2, where I was talking about exercises or examples for beginners. Okay, so I am tasting the curry to adjust the salt. So that is the act of tasting something. right? So that is the dynamic meaning. So it's perfectly all right to use it in the continuous form. Now, if you're talking about the condition of the food, okay, the taste of something, then you say the curry tastes good. Now, this is the stative meaning. You can't use the ing here, right? Because it's not the curry that's doing the act of tasting, it's the person, okay? And the next one is have a distinctive characteristic or taste, okay? So this is again a stative meaning. Now, you eat something and that reminds you of some other food. For example, soy meat. This soy meat tastes of chicken, okay? So it tastes like chicken. Here, so these are the three different words with three different meanings with the verb taste. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is smell. Now, obviously, the first meaning is to smell with your nose. Okay, you inhale the odor. So you say, I am smelling the roses. So here you're actually doing that action, right? So it's perfectly all right to say, I'm smelling the roses. Now, when you're talking about the smell of the roses, okay, just as the taste of the food, when you're talking about the roses smell, you say, the roses smell good. Okay, now smell can also be directly used as bad odor. Okay, so for example, the dog is not washed regularly, so it smells. You don't have to say it smells bad. From the sentence, it actually is implied that that's a bad smell. Okay, now another one is when there is an element suggestive of, okay, smell means you can smell of something. There is something fishy here. We hear this all the time, don't we? So this is also about a sense of smell. So you can say, for example, a professor might be evaluating a thesis and he might say, this thesis smells of plagiarism. That means he thinks, or the elements that suggest, okay, maybe the words, the copied text in that essay suggest that it has been copied from some other's material. So that is suggestive of something. So there you can say, this thesis smells of plagiarism. I hope that is clear, right? And next one is you become aware of something not through senses but instinctively. Okay, it's not through the sense of smell definitely, but you have a feeling. Okay, like looking at the turn of events, you can easily understand that there is something wrong going to happen. Okay, maybe by the way someone behaves, or thinking about different things that happen. Okay, so you can say, I smell trouble, right? For example, someone is really careless about their work. Okay, so maybe if there's a mischievous child, so he's up to a lot of mischief all through the day, and he can say to himself, I smell trouble because of all the mischief I've done throughout the day. Okay, so I can smell trouble. That's a stative meaning. Let's look at the next one. Have. Okay, this is a very famous word, and I've discussed this many number of times in the previous videos. So have has again stative and dynamic meanings. The first one is to possess, like I have a big house. So you can use this in any tense. Okay, you can use it in past tense, like I had a house, I will have a house, but you can't use it in continuous form because it is stative. Okay, now the second meaning of have is again stative, and it means to receive someone willfully. Okay, receive something given or offered willingly. Okay, for example, I'm happy to have them as my tenants. Okay, sometimes you hear this most of the times actually when famous personalities are invited onto the stage. They say, thanks for having me here. I'm happy that you have me here. Okay, etc. So that is the stative meaning. Okay, now next one is again a stative meaning, which is to suffer from. She has a condition of the eye. Okay, she has retinal vasculitis. Okay, that sounds complex, but that is a condition of the eye. Okay, where your vascular system is completely swollen. Okay, so she has retinal vasculitis. So any condition that you need to worry about, you can use the word has. Okay, now the next one is a dynamic meaning. Okay, very obvious one, we use it all the time, which denotes consumption or experience. Okay, so I'm having breakfast, that is equal to I'm eating my breakfast, or because it's a physical action, you could use it in any possible tense that you have. Okay, so I will be having breakfast soon, I was having my breakfast, etc. Okay, you can also say when you're having a good time, for example, you can say I'm having a great time learning stative verbs. Okay, are you? Okay, if you like this, then you can just leave your feedback in the comment section, people. Okay, so quickly moving on to the next slide. Think. Okay, think means when you ask someone, okay, this is a stative meaning. When you ask someone for an opinion, you ask generally, you don't always say, what's your opinion? You say, what do you think about this video? And the answer also comes in the same lines, saying, I think it is good, or I think it needs improving, for example. Okay, now the next one is a dynamic meaning, which is the actual process or action of thinking. Okay, you might ask someone, what are you thinking about? There you can use the continuous form, and the answer can be something like, I'm thinking about tomorrow's exam. Okay, so you're not planning anything, you're actually thinking. The third one is a stative meaning, which is same as believe. Okay, so when your beliefs are disproved, okay, for example, you think someone would never slander you, someone would never talk against or behind your back. Okay, so in that case, if they actually go and do backbiting and say bad things about you, for example, you say, I didn't think she would slander me. Okay, I didn't think she would say bad things about me, for example. Okay, now fourth one is again a stative meaning, which means to recall. So you can say, I can't think what his name was. Okay, so you were not able to recall. You completely forgot. Okay, I can think of his name now. So that means you can recall now. Okay, now stative is also the same as imagine. Okay, so like, just think what a wonderful event it would be. Okay, so you're trying to convince someone to attend an event that might be interesting. Okay, or even let's think about like when friends talk about careers, you are trying to convince your friend to take a particular career. Okay, so why don't we think of having a career in science? Just think of the possibilities. Okay, so imagine. So that is the stative meaning, and you can't use continuous there. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Consider. Consider means, which is a stative meaning, where you give careful consideration to something. Okay, for example, consider the possibility of having a vaccine against COVID. So that is a stative meaning. Okay, and the dynamic meaning is to think or to contemplate or to deliberate. We don't often jump to conclusions. We don't take decisions immediately. So you always contemplate. So that is the actual dynamic meaning. Okay, so for example, I'm considering a trip to Sorrento this summer, for example. Okay, so if you're planning, if you're thinking, you're not sure, but you're still thinking and you haven't made a decision, in that case, I'm considering a trip this summer. Okay, let's look at the next one, which is to hear. Okay, so hear has the stative meaning, which is the literal meaning of hearing through your ears, perceived through ears. Okay, so you're among the woods and you hear the birds chirping. So that is the stative meaning. You don't say, I'm hearing the birds chirping. You only say, I hear the birds chirping. Okay, the second one is the dynamic meaning, which means to become aware of. Okay, when someone tells you, you hear and you become aware of. Okay, so a mother scolding her child, for example, the child might have been naughty and she might have been causing trouble to neighbors and they might have been complaining against him. Okay, so mother goes to child, I'm hearing complaints against you every day. I don't want this to happen again. Okay, so that is a dynamic meaning. I'm hearing means to become aware of. Okay, the next one is realize. Realize has a stative meaning, number one, and number two, a dynamic meaning. Okay, so stative meaning is to become aware of. Okay, just like, you were not familiar with something and you suddenly realize it occurs to your mind. Okay, so I realized that, like after studying for a while, you realize that English grammar is interesting. Okay, so you start realizing, yes, people, definitely it's always worth investing your time in learning English grammar because it adds to the accuracy of expression, and that is at the heart of communication. Okay, so good grammar really costs nothing, right? So that's a stative meaning basically. And moving on to the dynamic meaning, that is a process of making something real. Okay, so that is the dynamic meaning. So she is realizing her dreams. She is fulfilling her dreams. Okay, so that is the word for realize. She is making her dreams come true. She is realizing her dreams. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So here we have another word, that is measure. Okay, so we had this in the previous videos as well. So words that reflect measure are stative. Here we have the stative and dynamic meaning. So when you have to talk about certain dimensions, okay, so stative is to have the dimensions. Okay, the ribbon measures 2 meters. Here you're talking about the length of the ribbon and not the physical action of measuring. So that is the stative meaning. So that's why you use only the simple present. This ribbon measures 2 meters. The next one is dynamic meaning, where you're talking about the act of measuring. Okay, so taking measurements of. I am measuring the cloth. She is measuring the child's height. Okay, so this is the physical action. Let's look at the next one. Depend on. Okay, people, so this one is dynamic, number one. So she is depending on her son. Okay, an old mother. Okay, so she is depending on her son, which is the literal meaning. So that is dynamic. Now the stative meaning is subject to a condition, subject to fulfillment of some requirement. Okay, are you attending the party? The answer might be, I don't know. It depends on how I feel. Okay, so let me give you one more example to make it clear. Are you flying to the US? I don't know. It depends on whether I get an admission into the university. Okay, so subject to a condition. That's clear for you, I hope. Let's go to the next one, which is rely on. Okay, so it has 2 meanings again. One is stative, where you use something to function. So for example, this machine relies on solar energy. Okay, so that is what it requires to function. So it relies on. The second meaning is dynamic, where you depend on something for support, something or someone. So here in this example, I'm relying on him for this project to be done. So you are depending on him, or you believe, or you're completely dependent on that person for that project to be done. Okay, so I'm relying, because it's a dynamic meaning, you can go on and use the continuous tense. Okay, now let's look at the next one. Weigh. which is similar to measure. Okay, so it has three different meanings. Let's look at them. The first one is where you are talking about the weight of something. Okay, so here I have this picture weighing a big melon there. So the melon weighs 3 kilos, or the melons weigh 3 kilos. Okay, so you're talking about the weight of the melon. That is the stated meaning. The next one is dynamic meaning, where you are measuring the weight. So you might be at a supermarket, like this fine lady is at the supermarket. So I'm weighing vegetables. Okay, so you're actually doing the act of weighing vegetables. Okay, the third one is a stated meaning again. So when you weigh something, you take into account, you consider, you closely examine. Okay, so you have to weigh your options before making a decision. Weighing means which one is more. Okay, so you weigh the advantages and disadvantages, for example. Okay, so you have to weigh the options before making a decision. Okay, so that's weigh for you people. Let's go to the next one, which is imagine. The first one is stative, okay, which means to expect or believe as the literal meaning. So you say, I imagine he earned a lot of money with his new novel. That's the stated meaning. And the dynamic is, this is actually the literal meaning, I'm sorry. So when you actually do the act of imagining, you form a mental image of something that is not present in front of you. So that is imagine. Okay, so I'm imagining the appearance of future humans. Okay, maybe 1 million years down the line, how humans would look. So you can only imagine. Is that right? It's not real. It's not there in front of you. So you form a mental image of something that is not present at this point of time. Okay, let's go to the next one. So for every rule, there is an exception, people. So I said, stative verb is stative and dynamic is dynamic and they never change. But there might be verbs where sometimes the stative is used to indicate in present participle and actually in continuous form to show an unstable, changing state. Okay, so I told you intend is a stative verb. Okay, the stative form is something like you have an object or plan or objective. Okay, you say, I intend to speak at the seminar. So you're all set there, you're planned. Okay, everything is ready. Okay, now the dynamic meaning could be an unstable plan where you're not sure. You're still thinking. She is intending to speak at the seminar, which means it might be quite possible that she can change her mind later. Okay, so that is the dynamic meaning. Now there is another meaning to stative, to intent, which is stative, that is about the purpose. Okay, so you say, I intend no harm. Okay, so you have no purpose to harm someone. No harm intended. Okay, so that is the stative meaning, people. I hope it is a little bit clear to you how, stative and dynamic. Okay, so this can clear some confusion for you. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, people. There is so much to explore and it's all up to your motivation. Whatever words you come across, if you find any similar meanings that are interesting, you can always post them in the comments box. You're most welcome. And thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to